What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I am here with my friend Noah at My Lawyer Friend, which, as you can see, the certifications behind him, the licenses and whatnot, prove that he is, in fact, a lawyer. And while we are both people on the internet, he's got the opinion that matters and that you want to hear about what happened today. And that is again, we won. It
We
seems
won.
like, yeah,
We did it.
we did the thing. It is, like I said, it's been blown up everywhere. It is our Return of the Jedi Yub Nub song, which is the only
Yep. Nope.
version of that movie. We'll talk about that in another video, maybe. But yeah, the SRD 5.1, which is everything that allowed you to create essentially fifth edition content,
Content.
has been released into the Creative Commons license, the CC BY 4.0, which
Right.
sounds like a type of yogurt to me.
Or
But
what are those like Beanie Babies? Yeah, Beanie
yeah,
Babies.
yeah, Ty, yeah, sure. But what is that? What is it? What does that mean for
Yeah,
us?
yeah. So the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License, more commonly known as the CC BY 4.0, which I'm just going to call for the rest of this the Creative Commons license.
Hmm.
There's a lot of different ones, but that's the one we're referring to. Um, is a fantastic Creative Commons license. It's the one that Wizards said that they put the D&D mechanics in. I'll be
Hmm.
honest, I haven't reviewed their publication of that yet. But they claim to have done that, and now they're putting SRD 5.1 in there as well, which
Hmm.
is just a huge win for the community. Honestly, it is. They're taking it necessarily out of the purview of OGL 1.0A and
Hmm.
putting it into this Creative Commons license, which is more open than the OGL 1.0A. So we kind of went the other direction than what they were trying to do. We fought so hard that we got ground back.
Yeah,
Um,
so I guess that's a thing because I've seen it. There are a lot of people in comments on videos and tweets and things. They're like, no, it doesn't say that the OGL 1.0A is irrevocable. And it's
right.
like, okay, sure.
That's a good
However,
point.
we are taking, which is true, right? That is a
Yeah.
point. But what they're doing in seemingly in place of that is taking all of the rules that we used to publish
Mhm.
under the OGL 1.0A, and then instead of owning it in that particular license, have turned everything over to Creative Commons.
Right.
Now, that by definition is irrevocable, correct? It's a one-way
Yeah.
door, right? It's there and now they can't take it back. It's gone there, it's there forever.
This Creative Commons license is perpetual, irrevocable, royalty free, and worldwide. That's the core of what we needed any of these licenses to be. So it's perpetual, meaning it has no definite end date. Once the content is published under it, it will not expire naturally. It's irrevocable, meaning that you can't later on revoke the license unless you breach the terms of this license, which we'll get into the only very few ways that you can breach this license. It's royalty free, meaning that you can make commercial use of this without having to
Mhm.
worry about royalties. Or non-commercial use, but you weren't really worried about royalties there anyways. And then
Sure.
it's worldwide, meaning that this isn't limited to the US, even though a lot of the discussion has been US centric here. So as soon as Wizards published SRD 5.1 under this Creative Commons license, the SRD became subject to these terms. And they did that concurrently with their announcement. So it's already there.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Um,
pull it up on the screen. It's the first page.
yep,
Right? It says the SRD 5.1 is provided to you free of charge under the terms of Creative Commons Attribution 4.0, as we talked about. You
yep.
are free to use this content in any manner permitted by that license as long as you include the following attribution statement in your work,
Hmm.
which is a little quote they have right here. This work includes material taken from SRD 5.1 by WotC LLC and available at a listed link. The SRD
Hmm.
5.1 is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 4.0. Please do not include any other attribution regarding wizards other than what's provided here. You may, however,
Right.
include a statement of your work that is this is compatible with 5th edition or 5e compatible.
Right. And now that is a good suggested attribution, and that is frankly what most people should probably be using. However, the only requirements that you can impose under the Creative Commons license are one, that you attribute the work appropriately by giving appropriate credit, by giving a link to the license itself, and also indicating if you've made any changes to the work. Those are the only three things that you can require for attribution. So
Hmm.
that is a sample attribution that accomplishes all of those things. But it's Wizards really can't say, hey, you have to use this because that's an additional restriction. You could reference it in other ways, but this is how I'd say you probably should do it. Um, uh, by being under the Creative Commons, this allows you to use and share the contents of the SRD in any medium, format, or manner. So you can use it with PDFs, you can use it with images, you can use it with any sort of file type in any distribution there. You can transform, adapt, and build upon the material in the SRD 5.1. So you can use it as the basis for your stories and for your items and for your monsters for any purpose, including for commercial purposes as part of your business.
Now, what about something like a virtual tabletop?
Yeah, that's absolutely okay.
How about a video game?
That's also fine.
If I wanted to reference this stuff on the light on my album
Yeah,
cover or on the names of my songs, that's all fine.
go ham, brother.
All right. Now, another thing that I've seen brought up, which I want your opinion on,
Mhm.
is previously you weren't allowed to use things like a beholder or mind flayer.
Yeah, I was so glad you brought this up. So here's the stuff that we're seeing so far, and I'm grabbing this from Wade Rocket on Twitter, replying to Lynn Codega. Um, and things that we found under the SRD that are suddenly in the SRD are Slods, Umberhoax, the Beholder, the
Mm,
Mind Flayer, and the Vampire Count Strahd von Zarovich.
yeah.
Um,
Because
Holy
they're
crap!
because of the way Creative Commons works, it's referenced within the body of work. Therefore, it is
Yeah.
now free to use per the own admission on the legal information on that first page. You are free to use this content in any manner permitted by that license.
Now, what is interesting there is that that is the name of those beings. It doesn't include stat blocks, graphics, or anything like that. So there's still an element of the beholder. If you do a graphical interpretation of it, and it's and there's no graphical interpretation in the SRD, then that's an issue.
Mm.
But the concept of a beholder, the reference of a beholder, you can say beholder now. You can reference Count Strahd von Zarovich, even if you completely turn him into like a unicorn or something like that. Um,
So to that point from our conversations from last time, I could make a spell that's
mhm.
like Strahd's something, right? Or I could make
Yeah.
Beholder Eye Ray a spell
Hmm.
or something, Beholder Ray, whatever, and that's allowed now, where
Yeah.
previously it was not.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Isn't that cool? Um,
Yeah, yeah. I
and
wonder if they're gonna kick themselves for that in the
I
long run.
don't know. Here's the thing: they can't take it back.
Well, that's true. It's once it's that's so again to that point for once again to reiterate their announcement and then including this statement, putting it into Creative Commons, it's
Mhm.
done. Like it's out there. What you see is what you get. Now, what about stuff that was published under the OGL 1.0A?
That stuff is fine. The Wizards has never really tried to go after that. Um, it is ostensibly okay. Now,
Okay.
here's the thing. That has been a legal interpretation that Wizards has put out. That's been something that I've been saying is, hey, you can't really go back and de-grandfather that work in if OGL 1.0A were revoked.
Mhm.
Um, however, um there's still legal reason that potentially you could say this your right to publish under this is revoked, and that would be an issue. So it's ironic, works that are made today using the Creative Commons, I actually say are more
They're better. Yeah,
protected.
safer in the long run,
Yeah, they're
right?
safer in the long run. So yeah.
Now, you said there was a couple ways you could breach Creative Commons.
Yeah, that's
How does
if you
that work?
don't give proper attribution.
That's it.
Yeah, if you don't give proper attribution.
So
And
it's the couple of things you said, or perhaps just using Watsy's sample one there may be
yeah.
enough.
And that's the thing. That's why I think people should just use the sample instead of trying to get cute with it. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, hey, you just gotta do one thing. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just
Now,
just do that.
So, I mean, realistically, that I think covers everything that happened with that. Now, there's a couple other things I do want to talk
Yeah,
about while I got you here.
sure.
And this is something I've been saying for a while because I thought we'd never be in the situation we were in. Now it seems we're past that. So, for those of you wondering, what about 1D&D or 6th edition or whatever it is, and
Right.
OGL 1.2 or whatever they're going to call it? Maybe it'll be 2.0 or whatever they
Yeah.
want to make it, or 1 OGL, who knows, right? Whatever they're going to call it.
The
Um,
one goal.
yeah. So my thoughts are with that, again, purely speculation. Everything we have currently, mind you, that is only fifth edition. It's not third edition. It does not go back and
Right.
do stuff from third edition, which is technically still covered under the OGL 1.0A.
1.0A.
They could put older stuff, and they did say in one of their FAQs that they were looking to put older edition content into the Creative Commons. That has not happened yet, but that's something. But more than likely going forward, they'll come up with whatever new license they want. And if you want to publish under the
One D and
newest
D.
stuff, you're going to have to abide by that. And that will likely be cut. I'm assuming that's going to be very cut and dry, right?
Yeah. For
You know,
example, if in one D&D they roll out like a new form of like burlesque dwarves that you want to have or something like that, and you want to incorporate burlesque dwarves into your content, and they have special rules for those, then you're gonna need to accept that OGL. So I do think that they're gonna roll out a new OGL for one D&D, but at that point, they're giving something to the community in exchange
right.
and not just taking away. And
Yeah.
more importantly, you'll have a choice about whether to accept or not.
And you'll still be able to in theory, depending on the, again, when and if that comes, we'll deal with that at a later date,
Right.
but you're still safe to create under Creative Commons with no issues.
That's right. The Creative Commons is there. That license is irrevocable. That license is irrevocable. So 5.1 is the most solid foundation that you have right now as a creator in the D&D space. And what's so interesting about that is that unless Wizards makes a great offer with one D&D and increases their one D&D offering to the point where it's like, oh God, I can't operate without this,
Mm,
then there's no reason to leave the bedrock
sure.
of 5.1.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm assuming one of the big nuggets they're gonna throw out there is the Artificer. That's gonna be a 1D&D thing, right? So if you wanted
That's
that,
fine.
not that you couldn't make your own right now, but
Yeah,
um,
artificers are. Well, I don't want to piss off half the
yeah, I
internet.
was gonna say just keep. So more importantly, I wanted to just very quickly touch on
Sure.
this TTRPG association that I saw just recently going around that you had been mentioned in. I think a couple other people were talking about gathering sort of almost a union situation. Do you want
Yep.
to talk about that just a little, a very high level, what that's about?
Yeah, so I've been speaking with Dungeon Master Dave, DM Dave, and I've been speaking with Griffin Saddlebag and several other creators throughout this whole thing. Um and the Griffin Saddlebag and DM Dave have been stalwarts in the community. They're truly those two. There's a lot of community leaders, but those two are community leaders that I really look up to. They're people that I subscribed to before I was, working with them as their lawyer, and so they have been talking to me about what can we do to ensure that we don't lose our stories again,
Mm,
and that we're never threatened with the loss of our stories again. And I said, well, galvanize yourselves from this. Take the community that has been forced together at the gate of WotC under this, and and galvanize them into an association, so that you
hmm
have an organization, so that you can rapidly respond to any threats. And that's not just WotC. That's any company in the space that seeks to take away your story. And so what we are working on right now is creating a 501c organization that is going to be an association of creators in the space. Um, and it's going to be out there to protect the interests of those creators and make sure that people can continue to make their story.
Awesome. Well, more on that to come. And again, we'll make sure to bring you back on, or we'll at least be
Yeah.
retweeting and talking about that once that becomes a finalized thing. But Noah, go ahead and plug all your stuff for people who don't know who you are.
Yeah. Can I plug my actual play? I've never done
Yeah,
that
of
with you
course, do
before.
it. Let's do
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Hey, also I have an actual play. Ironically, it's D&D 5e, but I haven't been saying that through all this.
Yeah, sure, I get it.
I have an actual play called Forgotten Paths. It's an amnesia campaign with 4 Twitch creators. That's myself and 3 others, and basically we have like over 60 hours of content out so far. It's 1-hour
Nice.
episodes. It's an audio podcast, and we all the players start with blank character sheets and figure out who they are and why they are in the position that they are at the beginning. And that's been so much fun
Yeah,
as a way
sounds
to
awesome.
teach people how to build character and to work with backstory. It's been so much fun to GM that. So you
Yeah.
can find that on podcast networks. That's Forgotten Paths. And then you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok at My Lawyer Friend. Or you can find me more on this channel because I like hanging out with you. You're pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll have links in the description to all of
Yeah.
Noah's stuff. So again, no full-blown live stream because this was pretty easy to just
Yeah.
kind of get the whole thing across. So long story short is we won. You may not see OGL 1.0a technically anymore for 5th edition stuff, but we actually are safer in
Yeah.
the long run by using Creative Commons. Although again, if you want to keep making 3rd edition content until things change, you're still bound by the 1.0a. But yeah, consider it a win. Still a lot of goodwill to be won back by Wizards of the Coast going forward, but they're going out of their way, at least seemingly, to show that they are listening for whatever
Right.
that's worth. And be on the lookout in the near future. They actually reached out to me directly and want to sit me down with Kyle Brink, who's been the name behind all of these things, to answer your questions about what's been happening with the OGL. So,
That's cool.
myself and a couple other creators have been invited to have these conversations. So, they're at least, and they're willing to put somebody out in front of people like me and others to have that conversation.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's a pretty, I mean, who knows what answers we'll actually get, but I'm willing to, have the conversation. So, anyway,
Cool.
thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.